Hello, my Kudi. Asking Radio is here. Tell everyone you know. The wait is over. 98.5 Speed FM.
Catch us if you can.
Speedy, welcome to the show for everyone. This is Extra Speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM Makudi, and I am King James YiYE. We're live here at the Spice Center, 19 and 21 Anongo Agbecha Street, Judges Quarters, Makudi, Benue State. And today is World Architecture Day 2024. And that's going to be the focus on our program today, especially on the theme, Empowering the Next Generation in Participatory Urban Design. I'm King James YiYE, as you know, and I have my guests in the studio. So it is our tradition that our guests introduce themselves. So let me begin with ladies first. Okay, ladies first. Introduce yourself. First the microphone very well and introduce yourself.
Okay, good morning. I am architect Memshima Evelyn Tuleun, and I'm the current vice chair of Nigerian Insititute of Architects, Benue State chapter. Thank you, and I'm pleased to be here.
Welcome. And
my name is Architect Chris Uloko. I'm the National Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. I have been a past chair of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, Benue State chapter, and I'm currently the Chief Executive of Chris Local Architects Limited, based here in Makurdi. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so at some point, we may be joined by architect Utsaha, that's Lawrence Utsaha, Principal Architect, 3P Design Concepts Limited. And of course, he designed the Spice Center. So, talking to the right person as well. So looking at the theme for this year's World Architecture Day, Empowering the Next Generation in Participatory Urban Design. What does that mean? Okay,
maybe the best place to start is, what is urban design? Urban design, in very simple terms, is the process of creating and managing the physical environment of cities, towns, and urban areas to achieve sustainable, equitable, and livable communities. We won't go too much into what it involves now, but there's a reason why we want to do urban design in the first place.
Yeah.
One, to create livable and sustainable cities, to enhance the quality of life for residents, to foster economic growth and development, to promote social equity and inclusion, and to protect and preserve natural resources. So, with that, today's theme is trying to sensitize the public to understand that urban design requires everybody's participation. And in the community of architects, this theme for this year is encouraging us to ensure that we create the environment for future generations to be able to participate appropriately.
So the participation is what baffles me, because that's a good initiative, but when you leave it out to the people that you are thinking they should know, things like you talking about preserving natural environment, and people think there shouldn't be in some places. People don't think there should be green areas in some places. So I'm worried about the knowledge of the citizen to be able to participate. How much do you think they know? Yeah.
Oh.
Anybody can answer that. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like citizens, especially here in Nigeria, know that they have a role to play in urban design.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's left for professionals. But however, if you understand how it's done elsewhere, you'll find out that the master planning document of every city is a document that is owned by all the citizens of that city, and they are the ones that protect it. And it is that kind of sensitization that we are looking up to.
Right.
Yes.
It's Extra Speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM Makurdi, and I am King James YiYE, and today is World Architecture Day, and at some point I'll be giving you the phone number to ask questions or contribute as well, and we're streaming live on Facebook, so you can come to Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM Makurdi, and you can ask your questions. Questions are coming in already, but let me just ask architect Evelyn.
Okay.
Memshima, why is she running away from Memshima since she's Evelyn? Anyway, let me ask you, how can young people, participate in this? How can they take part in this initiative?
Okay. First of all, young people are elaborate in terms of what they learn. They are open to new ideas, new technology. They have fresh information, fresh solutions to problem. How can they participate? In the sense that the government have to create that avenue for the young architects, the young professionals to be involved in development processes, and also for them to apply the skills they've learned. There are so many skills out there which have helped to better the lives of people living in the urban areas. So this avenue by the government, create forums, create workshops that will inculcate all the professionals to be truly involved in the development of the state.
Okay, so should we assume that the young people are almost inexperienced, even though they have studied architecture, so meaningfully? How do you want to, involve them and empower them to do this? Because sometimes it's easier said than done, yeah? Okay.
Well, for the profession itself, there's a tutelage period which every architect has to undergo. That's the mentorship. I myself have been privileged to work with the two current speakers who are here, especially actor Utsaha, which was the tutelage period. So it's for the young people to be willing to learn. That willingness have to come in for the young people to be able to accept the knowledge which will be impacted upon them. And also for the professional exam, it's a mandatory process for you to undergo that.
Right. So I also need to also mention that you were also part of the Spice Center. So the Spice Center, who Asking Radio is, and I think everybody knows the Spice Center. So any architect that is part of the Spice Center, everybody should know that they know what they are up for. Okay, is Extra Speed, and you can call at any point to ask any question, as 08084275464, 08084275464, and of course you just maintain your question within the theme of our discussion. Today is World Architecture Day 2024, and of course we are also looking at the theme of empowering the next generation in participatory urban development. So people in the villages are wondering, nobody cares about them. Anyway, so we have a question on Facebook. It's coming from Francis Tenyito. He says, with so many qualified architects, he put qualified in quotes, in Nigeria, what could be responsible for the numerous collapsed buildings in Nigeria in recent times? That's its question. Is that your responsibility, or?
Well, it's everybody's responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's a very good question, by the way. This is one of the parts issues that we are discussing.
Yeah.
It's okay to be qualified, but the society too that you serve need to understand what you are offering. and how to respond to it. And because society is always at variance with professional knowledge, we have these collapsed buildings because of this lack of coordination of the different professionals. So collapsed building may not be what we want to discuss in today's discussion. That is a discussion for another day. But I think the point we need to make here is that if you want to build a house, find a qualified architect, just like the Spice, the Asking Radio have done, and ensure that that architect too gets all other qualified professionals, and you're not likely to have any problem.
That's true. It's Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM is extra speed, and I'm sure Francis Tenyito, your question has been answered. Now, working with the next generation means a tomorrow's thing, maybe today's thing, but also a tomorrow's thing. So I'm just wondering, what present day tools you think you can leverage on to engage these guys, that's the next generation, in urban design?
Okay.
Today's tools, tomorrow's tools.
Yeah, it's a continuation. When it comes to technology, there's always upgrading and advancement.
Yeah.
But currently, there are quite a number of tools that can be engaging, that professionals can leverage upon. You have the BIM, which is the Building Information Modeling, which has actually come in handy to solve a lot of current problems. It saves times, it eliminates errors and whatnot. Then you also have augmented reality and virtual reality, which gives the stakeholders or the clients the opportunity.
Just hold it there.
Okay.
Let's hear from this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, KiNG JAMES YiYE. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to Architect Chris Uloko, and good morning to Architect Menshima.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, I am Engineer Sunday Akpa calling from North Bank.
Yes, Engineer, good morning.
A nice one there. There are professional colleagues there in the studio, and so far they have attempted to enlighten the public on what the whole topic is. But
Yes.
I have a question to ask.
Yes, go on.
In this whole process, what is the point of convergence and the point of divergence between architecture, practice, and the other professionals like engineering, town planning, and the rest? So let us enlighten the public
Right.
in that direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, slightly going back to the question on Facebook, blaming collapsed buildings and asking architects, and I was almost trying to shift it to building or civil engineers, whatever works. So, but that's the same question, I think. So, what is that point of contact between architect and the other professionals to ensure that this thing we're talking about works?
Okay, see, fundamentally, the architect is not just a technical person, he's also an artist. So think of him also as a sculptor or fine artist or whatever. When he has a vision, he needs technical knowledge to implement that vision. That's how we work together. So the client's first point of call is the architect. When the architect has done his work, he recruits all the other technical expertise that is required to put that work in its place. So when you talk about point of convergence, it's actually the architect that sits in the center of it all. He connects all other professionals with the client and oversees them. However, that does not in any way mean that he is more knowledgeable than the other professionals, because many of them bring a lot of technical detail to the table. And it is that synergy working together that makes projects succeed. So I understand that in the past there are always issues of conflict between one group or the other. But if you understand fundamentally that an architect knows all the expertise he requires to bring out his works, there shouldn't be that conflict at all.
Yeah, so sometimes when we're talking on issues like this, we want to look at the challenges, one of which I know, I have seen and I've heard, is that some engineers accuse architects of just being bothered about beauty and they don't care. How can you design this? How do you want me to put a column here? Some of those things, that conflict you're talking about, how do you resolve that?
King James, when you go out to buy a car, what is your primary consideration?
Beauty first, and then the functions.
Yes, but if you don't like that car, you will not drive it. So let's not pretend that beauty is of a lower. Beauty is actually of a higher level.
Yeah.
Indeed, coming to urban design, which is the topic of today, the purpose of architects' involvement in urban design is the beauty of the city.
Yeah.
And that is why we created what we call the City Beautiful movement, which has led to the beautification of all cities in the world to this day. Why do people leave Nigeria to travel to Dubai? It's because of the beauty of those cities.
Of course.
So beauty is of the highest order. So let nobody say that beauty is not important. But an architect is trained sufficiently to understand that beauty alone is not sufficient. It has to be, I mean, what doesn't stand cannot be beautiful. So, and the principles of architecture is firmness, delight, and then what was the third one?
Stability.
Yes, stability. So these are fundamental principles.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why we work with structural engineers and every other. It's not just beauty. A house needs to work.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. Okay, is asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. So the line is still open now. You can call 08084275464. That's 08084275464. This is King James YiYE here, and for now I am with architect Evelyn, Tuleun, and of course architect Chris Uloko. Today is World Architecture Day. It's 2024, obviously empowering the next generation in participatory urban design. Now we are here talking about the young people, because when you talk about next generation, it's young people obviously. So, but looking at one of the challenges, maybe not among professionals, they are professionals too, but you are trying to groom them for tomorrow. So what's the biggest challenge in trying to ensure their participation in this urban design that we're talking about? Maybe I think you can answer that.
Okay, one of the biggest challenge is the funding. There are lots of young architects that have certain ideas, but they do not know how these ideas can be implemented.
Yeah.
So funding is very, very important. Then you need that avenue for you to express what you have. That's where you have the co-evaluation. When the project is coming up, let the public know, let the professionals be in the know of this project. Then they'll give their own insight on how best the project can be implemented.
Right. So, but again, so when you talk about funding, on whose part, you, the older architects, trying to involve these ones, and you don't have enough to engage them, or what exactly?
I'll cite an example, an interesting example, which is the High Line in US. It's actually a dilapidated rail line system, and it was the people who were in the neighborhood that initiated this idea. But along the line, the government saw that this was going to benefit the country as a whole. It's amazing to tell you that actually that project warranted a sum of about $115 million for it to be executed. But as we speak right now, $5 billion is being generated. Why? Because it has created an avenue for tourists, for visitors, for people to relax and to enjoy the serenity of the place.
Right.
So funding can come in different aspects. It could be government, it could be individuals who can initiate this idea. And that's why you have there was a competition that came up concerning displaced people. Or non-governmental organizations get interest from such ideas when you bring them up, and they are willing to fund these ideas. So it's for you to just showcase these ideas, know the right platforms to use, and you're good to go.
Extra speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And of course, we are looking at World Architecture Day 2024 on the theme Empowering the Next Generation in Participatory Urban Design. I am King James YiYE here. I have architects Chris Uloko, National PRO, Nigerian Institute of Architecture, and architects Evelyn, Tuleun, Vice Chair, Nigerian Institute of Architecture, Benue State Chapter. And the other guest, architect Utsaha, is standing by. I don't know when he wants to talk, but when he wants to. Speed FM was designed for 2 guests only at a time. So at the point, when he wants to come in, he will do that as well. But again, let's come down to Benue State and looking at the policies of government. Is there any policy that you think it needs a change or a modification or upgrade or update in order for us to achieve the theme of this year's World Architecture Day?
Yes, in fact, I want to add to the answer she gave earlier on.
Yeah.
For how to bring the youth in.
India.
Apart from funding, the most important thing, which will have to do with policy, is the opportunities that are available. You know, a young architect who has just graduated may not have any direct relationship with a governor or a commissioner, and he needs opportunities. He needs patronage in order to grow his design. So there has to be a policy whereby such a young man can bid for jobs without the necessity of knowing anybody personally. So, and that's where the procurement process comes in. If the state can develop a procurement policy to make it easy for anybody who has the skills to bid for these things and get opportunities without the necessity of having to know somebody in government or have a personal friend who is a commissioner, that would be a good way to help the generation to develop.
But apart from knowing someone, sometimes they're looking at experience. So how is it easy for maybe as an association, as a body, that somebody who is just fresh and coming out and perhaps they have undergone the tutelage from you, mentorship, and that they have the ideas, but government is looking at experience. And once they don't have, how does that work? What policy do you think can be in place to help them?
Yes, that is where we need to work with government. There are projects that can be put on a design competition, which a young architect can have the best idea, and then he can be attached with senior architects who can guide him through the process as he implements it. It's done all over the world.
That's true.
Yes.
It's Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. Catch us if you can. You want so what you want him to sit now? You want Utsaha to sit now? Yeah, definitely. Maybe he should. Okay, so you can call now 08084275464. That's 08084275464. And it's World Architecture Day 2024. You should ask those questions that you want to ask now. Sometimes people want to just sit and listen, but sometimes we also want you to ask those questions because the professionals are here. So don't go asking anyone else but them. Empowering the next generation in participatory urban design. Call now 08084275464. That's 08084275464, and let's get talking. Now, apart from empowering the next generation, which is our focus, let's look at participatory design, maybe not necessarily urban design, any building at all. How is the client supposed to work with you in the design of their building? Let's go back to that and see how it works. Do you allow them?
Yes. Now, if a client briefs me, he fills out a questionnaire. And that questionnaire includes not just his immediate needs, but also his emotional needs. So it's my responsibility to study him and to understand his emotional nature. And in doing that, we commence a conversation that lasts perhaps longer than the time it actually takes to do the actual design. And that is how the client participates in the design process. And even when you have done a design, you allow for a lot of reviews for the client to have his input in those reviews. Now, how well that works depends on how well you are able to express your idea in a form that he can understand. Because if he can't understand even your sketches, he's not likely to make any input on that. But if you give him sufficient presentation for him to understand how the idea is going to look like when completed, it gives him the room to participate fully in the process.
But there are some times that perhaps what they're suggesting professionally wouldn't work, but they think it should just work. How when you find yourself in such a situation, how easy or otherwise is it to explain?
The truth of the matter is that most ideas can work if you have the money to implement it.
Right.
So most of the time when we talk about something not working, is because either it's going to be too expensive and unwieldy, or maybe the kind of materials you are expecting are too far-fetched to be implemented. So we give those advice appropriately. But if a client insists that that's what he wants, it doesn't matter. We can go to the ends of the world to get all the expertise and all the materials to implement what he wants.
Right. If they have the money, why not?
If they have the money, why not?
We still have a caller coming in. Hello, good morning.
Well, good morning, King James.
Good morning.
Your guys, Engineer Sada Fabak.
Okay, Engineer, you're back again.
Yes, I'm interested in the discussion. You know, many people are not calling because people who are not professional
don't know what to ask. Okay,
that's the problem. But if it's a doctor there now, because everybody can fall sick, they'll be asking. But you know, in architecture and engineering, you know, we give people comfort even while they are in good health.
Yeah.
You know? So, but the question I want to ask is that, you know, there is a problem of this quackery in every profession, which is a canker one. So, how is the Nigerian of architects or the outcome dealing with this issue of quackery, which is just a menace in every profession? Let them enlighten the public. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So the question is straightforward, yeah?
Yes, in an urban area, you know, if you do a design, it needs to be approved. And if you take your designs to approval offices, they will require the signature of an architect. So if you still have quacks designing, it means that somehow they found a way to circumvent the process of approval and are building without approval. In which case, the urban development board will catch up with them eventually. However, at our level, what we advise is fighting quackery starts with the man who is spending the money to build a house. Why will you want to spend money to build a house and you want a quack to design it for you?
But how would they know who a quack is?
Yes, they are supposed to confirm that the person they are communicating with is a licensed architect. If you ask for his license and he doesn't have it, you don't use him. That's what we tell the public all the time. If you want to give somebody a design, ask for his license. Does he have you don't want to ride in a car with a driver who doesn't have a license, do you? So if an architect doesn't have a license,
if my license expires, it does not mean I don't know how to drive.
Yes.
So if the architect's license is expired, perhaps maybe he wasn't qualified and you guys chase him out and I don't know. So how would I even know?
So ask for his license. We also have some hotlines and that we will be dropping. If you have doubts, you can call the Nigerian Institute of Architects. We have branches in all states in the country. You can call the Architects Registration Council. We also drop that line with you as well. But still the point is, like, if you go to a doctor, you need to be sure that that doctor is a qualified doctor. If he's not qualified, you are taking a risk. Definitely, yes.
So the difference in medicine is I'm going to a hospital. So I know that a hospital has a reputation in the first place before I will go. But in your profession, I think we just sit and somebody introduces somebody and says it's an architect. Except you have a place that people can go to be sure of a qualified architect. Then you say it now. If you have such a place.
Yes, we do have offices, definitely. We do have offices. But you see, every architect has his houses to speak for him. And it is from the houses that people have seen that it's making them in the first place to consult that architect. But like I said, if you can't get that plan approved in Urban Development Board, it means that the architect doesn't have a license.
So, but then it goes back to the fact about encouraging the younger architects to participate. Because in most cases, what if they don't have anything to show? If they don't have any past projects, why should I trust them?
We have a mentorship program. I have a lot of young architects that are working with me that get projects and subject it to scrutiny in my office. So we have a mentorship program that can sort that out properly. And I think even Mem Shima here will give a testimony on that.
Exactly.
As well, yes.
So, but the numbers, the hotlines, do you have them available to give people now, or because the numbers need to be available? The number on the flyer, is it one of them? The flyer of the show that we're doing here?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have it handy, at some point will be given. So is Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, catch us if you can. It's Extra Speed as KiNG JAMES YiYE. And today is World Architecture Day 2024, empowering the next generation in participatory urban design. And it's time for you to call down. Well, Engineer Akpa said it, that when it comes to a professional show like this, sometimes people want to just sit and see what they can get from it. But of course, everybody lives in a house. Everybody, appreciates a good building, be it whatever. We all appreciate it. We marvel at good buildings. So you can ask architects how they come about certain things. Now, when you call 08084 275464, that's 08084 275464. If I were you, I would call to ask all the questions, about the cost of designs and all of that. You should ask now because they are here, and it's time for you to, ask those questions. Now, let me ask about some examples of successful projects in our communities in Benue here, for instance. Are there some of these ones that are linked to urban design that we're talking about in communities that are actually enjoying? Is there anything to show for in Benue State, Memshima?
Okay. I would say some of the peculiar projects which I find inspiring. One of it is the State Secretariat. Why? Because it's inculcated quite some certain principles like passive design approach. And then I will also say in terms of green spaces.
Wait, when you want to talk, that's when they call. So maybe we answer this person, but you continue with that. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
But we know
my
who is
name
calling you. Go on, yeah?
Yes, my name is Kelvin Tuleun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, quite an interesting program,
Yeah.
to be very honest. So there is a question, right?
Yes.
We, of late, we've been seeing a lot of poor planning from the urban and regional people, right? Where we get to see houses built along waterways. And most likely, a good number of these houses, right, are actually built or led by architects. So I'm trying to understand the role of architects in the state in trying to correct this anomaly, okay? Because up until these last few years, I know that the state was well planned to a very large extent, talking about the areas of high level and then some other areas. But moving forward in the last decade, we've seen that some new layouts are being developed, but the planning structure for those areas are not clearly spelled out. And then we see architects involved in the designs of those areas. So I'm trying to understand how they've been able to solve for this or advise the government the current efforts that are being in place to make sure that this issue is actually tackled.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so in summary, you design the buildings and you're talking about urban design, which is sustainable and natural. And he's saying design a house and it's sited on the wrong place. Just to summarize, but we have another question. So let's keep that one. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, who do we have here?
My name is Gilbert Patrick.
Calling from?
I'm calling from Makodi.
Right.
I'm an architect and I have a degree in civil engineering. Someone mentioned about the fact that we have so much architects and engineers out there, and yet we have building collapses.
Yeah.
I want to say something as regards that.
Yes, go on.
You see, when it comes to building collapses, fingers are often pointed at architects. But I believe the responsibility lies elsewhere. Clients and artisans play a significant role in this incident. Clients often opt to cut costs by not hiring architects or engineers for on-site supervision, assuming that these are too expensive. Instead, they rely on artisans who may not fully understand or follow the technical drawings. This lack of adherence to design specifications can lead to structural weaknesses and ultimately building collapses.
Right.
In many cases, artisans prioritize expediency over quality, compromising the integrity of the building. The consequences can be devastating.
Yeah, obviously.
To prevent such tragedies, clients must, as a matter of fact, prioritize investing in proper architectural oversight, and artisans must be held accountable for adhering to design plans.
All right. Thank
you very much.
You're welcome. So, on collapsed buildings, he is shifting the blame actually that you, the professionals, need to actually supervise to ensure adherence to the design on buildings. So he has shifted that. So back to the questions raised. You design a building or a structure, and I think it's Kelvin. He is saying that, yeah, you design a very beautiful structure, but where it's sited should be part of your concern, because as you are designing, you know about the area, the land, the soil type, everything. It's in your design. So where it's being sited, he's assuming that you know. So why do you allow it to be sited where it will be brought down again, maybe on waterways and all of that's what he's saying. So the question is to you to answer. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I will start by saying that for every city, there is usually a zoning. You have your areas where it's designated for residential, areas that are designated for commercial purposes. So I'll give you an example. At Utsaha, it's a place I know very well as a little child. It's a Fadama area where there was actually a lot of rice farming that was ongoing there. When we moved down that area, that was early 2000. That was a vast virgin land with rice farming. But currently we have residential buildings on these areas. And one, you get to find out that these buildings are not even designed to adapt to that situation. You see them even using strip foundation in those areas. You see the benchmark, the benchmark from the road.
You are going to professional. What is strip foundation?
Strip foundation is where you have a continuous distribution of load along the external.
It's still highly too technical.
It's the regular foundation that
it's the concrete footing that you put that the building sits on.
So what's the difference in a place like Utsaha? What should be done in a place like Utsaha?
A place like Utsaha, it's expected that one will even think of having a part foundation where you can have your building uplifted to a certain level before you can have your structure on it.
Right.
And I also see even the Benue River, the water banks, there are regulations that need to be put in place.
So his question is, after you guys know all of this, why do you design buildings and they are being put in such places like Utsaha the wrong way, not according to your designs, and you allow it?
Let me come in there.
Yes.
Yeah, a client took me to I have a client who is outside the country, and he wanted to buy a plot that I would do something for, and his agent took me to a plot recently. Yeah. Somewhere off Jojakume Way. And when I went to the plot, I told the man that this plot is on a floodplain. It's not an appropriate plot. I don't know why they put a beacon on it. And that got me thinking, who are the surveyors that have mapped that place for sale in the first place? So I think sometime this year, we visited the Urban Development Board. And we commenced that conversation with them. We've told them that there is a need to reinvent the master plan of the town so that we don't continue, because sometimes if a client brings a brief to you and he has a plan that is approved, a site plan that is approved by survey department, you don't want to question whether that place is appropriate or not. But if it's happening so regularly, maybe we need to go to the source and commend that conversation. And they themselves convinced us that it's a problem that they've observed themselves, and they very much would love to work with us. And we are forming a coalition of different professionals to address that issue. So in the next 2-3 years, I suspect we are going to be able to solve that problem, because there are so many plots being created out of places where plots should not be existing at all.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes. But so when it comes to demolition, people just feel that the government is bad. Why do people feel this way?
Yes, it still brings us to the first sentence I made when we started the conversation, that urban development requires sensitization of the public. The public should understand what the reasons for government's action is, but somebody needs to tell them. And Nobody is telling them. So it's
but they are always told. Sometimes they always say it's standing on waterways.
Yeah, there is a sociological way of telling them. It's not just the formal government way. There is a sociological way of telling them. I'll tell you something. In the US, every citizen owns the master plan of that town. In fact, not just the US. Go to Akwa Ibom. Everybody living in Uyo knows the master plan of Uyo. And if you put a house somewhere, they will tell you that that place is going to have an express road in the next 5 years. How many people know what the plan of Benue State is?
Benue people, how many of you know? If you know, you call us and tell us.
Even architects don't know. So we need, that's the essential decision we need to take. And that's what we need to sensitize government into doing. Let us plan the town, let us create a new vision, and let us involve everybody. The citizens, the professionals, everybody should be involved, and the media, of course, should be involved. If you know that part of the town you are living in is supposed to be high rise, you will be more careful in going to build a bungalow there, knowing that one day it's going to be demolished.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's true. It's Extra Speed on King Radio 98.5 Speed FM Makurdi World Architecture Day 2024 on the theme Empowering the Next Generation in Participatory Urban Design. So I have my guests. Introduce yourselves once again. Reintroduce yourselves.
At this point, I think Architect Utsaha should be
introduced.
He should be coming up.
He has been introduced. So,
yes,
so let him come. So why is he not coming? Architect Utsaha should come. Right. Extra Speed on King Radio 98.5 Speed FM. Catch us if you can. It's King James YiYE. In as much as Architect Utsaha is also sitting here, you can call 08084275464. That's 08084275464. And a caller is here. Let's answer them. Hello.
Hello, yes.
Okay, Engineer, but you are back again.
Online.
All right.
Yes, we are professionals and we need to
talk professional.
To make the.
All right. So, go on.
Yes, your guests have spoken very, very well. Very, very well. Excellently. Let me tell you, the angle of building collapse that we are talking about, if you check carefully, it's usually not the fault of the professional. So, no professional who want his profession to crumble like a pack of cards. They have their needs to protect. But usually, when you design anything for a client, they can be penny wise and pound foolish. They go and look for power. That's what we're talking about just now. They will not even involve you in the construction. They go and do whatever they like in the night. At the end of the day, they begin to insult architects, engineers.
So do you think you people will charge too much money? That is why people are running away from you for supervision.
That is what I just said. It's not good to be penny wise and pound foolish. Pay adequately for your project so that it can be durable. Or you go and cut corners, you pay peanuts to people, and at the end of the day, the building collapses. So who starts to lose? You lose everything, and sometimes human beings die.
That's
so
true.
You are precariously liable. They can even charge you for murder. So then, in the other area, somebody was talking about types of foundations and all the rest and the rest. Yes, all professionals, both architects and engineers, social engineers, we take into cognizance the nature of the soil before we design our buildings whatsoever. In the swamp area, normally, when you envisage a settlement or the rest, you can go for rock foundation, where the whole area is covered with foundation. And in Nigeria, usually, most of the buildings, the way the loads are transmitted from the slabs to the beams to the columns and to the foundation. And in that case, you consult what they call patch foundations or patch footing for individual columns. But you are talking of strip foundations just now. Strip foundations are designed for load-bearing walls.
So you the professionals, you know all of this, but what you are saying is clients are always not willing to part with money. That's what you're saying.
The professional will enlighten the client, and when you enlighten them, at the end of the day, you give your design properly, instead of them to involve you to oversee the construction to the end. They will just leave you aside and go and carry draftsmen and masons. They will tell them, we have been doing this. And at the end of the day, the building will collapse.
Yes, that's
true.
what
you are trying to say, to destroy quackery.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure you call again because it's a professional talk. It's Extra Speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, and I'm King James YiYE. World Architecture Day 2024, empowering the next generation in participatory urban design. So we've been joined now by architects Utsaha AL. His friends know him with that. So now I'm still going back. Anybody can answer this because you have been in the studio as well. We were looking at examples of projects in Benue that are successful, and architect Memshima was talking about the state secretariat. You mentioned something that it has a passive plan.
It has a passive design principle applied to it. You have the inculcation of natural ventilation. You also have recessed walls that help to mitigate heat gain into the building. So those are things that people should look into. Buildings that can actually help to reduce urban heat within the state, rather than relying so much on mechanical means of thermal comfort in their buildings.
So, Architect Utsaha, now let's look at the state sector. Is there any other thing you like about the project that you can talk about, or is there any other project in Benue that you can? Don't mention the Spice Center yet. I know that's where you want to start. So talk about any other place, maybe even the state secretariat. Is there anything you want to add about the project that you think is an ideal urban design?
For me, I would like to digress a little. When you're analyzing projects, so to say, I think we need to look at the positive and the negative. We've seen the state secretariat as a positive, and then like economics will tell you about opportunity cost and the rest. I think we need to look at places where we could have actually gotten something better if we had a proper urban design in place. One of the major challenges of Makurdi is flooding. And we can readily and easily attribute it to the fact that the River Benue has not been dredged. But aside from that, we have also willfully contributed to the flooding in Makurdi because of an almost near zero presence of urban design on the macro scale. There's the micro and then the macro. Like Memshima mentioned about Achusa. These places were water dumps, so to say. And then we've had developments on several water dumps, occasioned primarily, like my Oga said earlier on, about the nature and manner of opening up of layouts we have. Urban design is a multidisciplinary subject matter, where you have the architect, the engineers, the town planners, the geotechnical surveyors, and the rest of them. So it behoves on us to actually bring all of them together when we are opening up our layouts and our settlements. And I dare say that there's a lot we can achieve to mitigating the impact of the flooding in Makurdi, even without, first and foremost, dredging the River Benue. And urban design provides those opportunities to achieve that.
So talking about here empowering the next generation in participatory urban design, and opening of layouts is one of the ways, right? So what is that government's failure when is opening layouts? What is that obvious failure when they are opening these layouts?
The difference between urban design largely and regular town planning is urban design thinks three-dimensional, length, breadth, and height. For me, and I'm not blaming, but based on my perception, the nature of technical input we have in the opening of layouts is limited to a few professionals without tapping into the potentials that can be garnered from all the other professionals that should be involved in urban planning and urban design. And then maybe also adding to some other question that was answered earlier on, the issue of incorporating the next generation via the procurement process, like Architect Chris Uloko mentioned. The nature of procurement process limits their ability to have inputs into development. And then I would just add that sometimes it's also necessary for a government to have an ideas box whereas everybody is thinking in the X direction, some other persons can innovate along the Y direction and dump in this ideas box for the government to look at it in terms of policy implementation.
So for now, should we say basically they open a layout and just put beacons and then
you have residential places, you have allotment for commercial. Sometimes there's no, like Architect Chris stated earlier on too, he visited the site and it's a swampy location that ordinarily should be for
maybe farming or something.
Absolutely. And it could be a green area too. You know, the more you develop places and cover up the natural ground, the more you limit the amount of area that water can seep into the ground. And in so doing, you're also, in quotes, encouraging flooding. When you do that, you must make provisions to redirect those waters that have been displaced in that place you're planning.
Yeah.
And so you think beyond that micro plot you are working on. So if ab initio you are doing a layout and you have studied the grounds, the geotechnical guys have gone there, the architects, the structural engineers, and the town planners have looked at it holistically, then you will have solutions provided even before the first block is laid on that site.
Yeah, so obviously from what you have said, it explains why it looks like you are seeing more flooding with the coming years, because when the environment was natural, perhaps when Utsaha was not developed, for instance, water will pass on its way and go.
It will even collect there and seep gradually.
And nobody would even know.
Nobody will know. But now you have displaced it, so he has to find some other places.
Some people's houses.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's clear now that people should know. But what should government do? We haven't got much time. I mean, we have outlined some of the challenges and even policy shift and all of that. But largely and immediately, now the problem is here. What should government do in ensuring, maybe let's say, participatory urban design for the next generation, but the immediate ones, because that one is sounding like something of tomorrow, even though it's a theme for this year. You guys are looking at tomorrow, which is normal. But today, what should government do better, and what should people do better?
Government should be open to accepting ideas outside of the nucleus of what he has. For instance, we're on this show and calls are coming in and engineers are also advising on what can be done. We cannot know it all. That is one. And then two, we need to also revitalize our cities. We have inner city decays. We need a practical review of what went wrong. I remember there was a time I have paid so much attention to the flooding in Makurdi, and there are times when it's raining, I just drive around the city to be able to identify snags here and there. Government will also need to, in quotes, drive around the city and identify where we have these failures and then provide mitigants. I recall discussing with somebody and he complained that the drainage, for instance, that moves all the way from Commissioner's Quarters down to Benue Link side, it's not on an incremental basis. It's the same size coming all the way down. Meanwhile, it's harvesting more water as it comes down.
Going down,
So some of these solutions have to be practically on the ground reviews, so to say, that involves all the professionals. I think we can and should be more actively involved.
So one of the smallest things, going forward that people need to be reminded, that it looks like, do they really need to be reminded? But we keep talking about is drainage. You're just looking at it, and everywhere is blocked. That contributes to flooding as well. So for development of the future, for urban design of tomorrow, the size you're talking about, are you actually looking at a city like Makurdi that the urban design should ensure that you have wider streets and wider drainages, or you think the size doesn't matter as it is, as we have now?
No, it should matter. It should matter, because as the catchment area increases, there's something called a funnel effect. If you are collecting from so much and you're passing through so little, there will be a clog. And that's what gives rise to a hold up. So it will definitely have that spillover effect. But sitting down here to give you those solutions may be completely wrong. It will actually be the work of the civil water engineer to design on the basis of data that is collected from these locations, which was why I said there's that need to conduct that practical overview.
All right, so World Architecture Day 2024, empowering the next generation in participatory Urban Design. Our time is up. What message do you want people to keep in their heads that they will remember this day, and that you people came on Speed FM to talk about this day?
Do not underestimate the value a professional brings into a professional turf.
Right.
If you're not trained for it, don't go for it.
So, Architect Memshima, what are you proud of about the Spice Center?
I'm proud of the fact that I participated in the building and you're satisfied with the structure. So our interest as architects is to give satisfaction to the client, and also for the building to have its own impact on the climate and the environment in which it's situated.
That's true. So, Utsaha, Architect Utsaha, what are you proud of to tell anybody that you designed the Spice Center?
I don't know. I recently did something for my barrister, my attorney, and I realized that some of the concepts we have here were replicated there.
Yeah.
And I smiled to myself and said, well, that's your identity.
Exactly. So it's a Spice Center, and people look at the Spice Center, they keep raising their heads, and they are almost falling inside, the drainage there, because they keep looking at it. But this is a place we started building in 2016, and it's been here, and they keep looking at it like it's a new building. I don't know why, but perhaps it's the overhang of the roof and the pillars, tilting the other way and all of that. But I don't know what's on their mind, but that's that. So I would like to say thanks to all of you for coming on today's program. And I think you've spoken well, and people are going to take home the message. So thank you very much for being on Extra Speed today. Architect Memshima Tuleun. She prefers to be Evelyn Tuleun. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Architect Utsaha.
Thanks for having me.
And Architect Chris Uloko. You're standing by there, but thanks for coming as well. So that's it on Extra Speed, and I'm King James YiYE. See you tomorrow on the show.
As King Radio, 98.5 Speed FM. Catch us if you can.
As King Radio, 98.5